The ancient Greeks were thirsty for mythological monsters. This obsession spread around the world and continues to this day. However, many of the creatures were not inspired by fantasy, but by science and nature. Some old stories are based on real things. In this video, we'll be looking at 10 mythical creatures that really existed and learning a little bit about each of the different species. Before we begin, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and click the notification bell for more amazing videos. With that being said, let's begin. Cyclops. In Greek mythology, the Cyclops were giant creatures with one eye in the center of its head. They were known mainly for their barbarism, as they weren't afraid of men or gods. The most famous Cyclops was Polyphemus, who attacked Odysseus in a cave and ate half of his men. Odysseus blinded the Cyclops, leading a wooden stake through his single eye. Odysseus and his men escaped, clinging to the bottoms of sheep. That may seem unlikely, but for a while, it seemed pretty solid evidence of the existence of Cyclops. Many skulls were found with a single glance in the middle of the head. It looks like the skulls belonged to the dwarf elephants. The eye socket was the central nasal cavity and the opening for the elephant's trunk. Many dwarf elephant skulls have been found in Cyprus, especially in the caves where Cyclops lived. Therefore, it's natural for an elephant skull to be taken as evidence of a race of giant man-eating creatures with terrible eyes and manners. Korean Dragon. The Korean dragon is one of the mythological snakes. It has specific characteristics only to Korea and differs from other dragons. For example, it has no wings, but a long beard. While most dragons in Western mythology are associated with fire and trouble, dragons in Korean mythology usually act for good purposes. They were believed to bring rain to the earth. Fossils of a giant snake named Titanoboa have been discovered in Colombia. Making a comparative analysis of the skeleton, the researchers concluded that the snake can reach up to 13 meters in length and can weigh more than a ton. It lived 50 to 60 million years ago in the rainforests of today's Colombia, but it's very possible that he lived on other continents as well. Unicorns. Unicorns are not just fairy tale or mythical characters. They really existed. Scientists have discovered that 30,000 years ago there were animals that somewhat resembled the mythical characters adored by millions of people today. This is the conclusion reached by scientists after they discovered in Kazakhstan the fossils of a mammal that resembles what we consider to be a unicorn. Elasmotherium sibiricum, as the species was called, lived almost 30,000 years ago. True, it was not a white, immaculate horse with a horn on its head, but rather a rhinoceros. According to specialists, the unicorn 30,000 years ago weighed around 4 tons, was 5 meters long and 2 meters high. This discovery changes what scientists thought until recently, namely that these unicorns would have disappeared from the Earth 350,000 years ago. Unfortunately, this species does not resemble the winged white horses that most of us perceive as unicorns. But you never know what the future holds. The Sea Dragon. The sea dragon is a fantastic creature mentioned in the myths of different cultures of the world. Naturally, each culture has its own description, but it's almost always a huge snake with a horse or dragon's head. The prototype of a monstrous sea snake can only be a kingfish. These fish are found in warm or moderately warm waters of the Pacific, Atlantic, and Indian Oceans. The body of the fish is 3.5 meters long, 25 centimeters high, and only 5 centimeters thick. But there are even larger cases. For example, having a length of 5.5 meters and weighing 250 kilograms, this fish could easily be mistaken for a large snake. Chupacabra. Chupacabra is a true living legend in South America and is a mythical creature born of Mexican folklore. Chupacabra is a blood-sucking reptilian creature with red eyes and wings. It can hypnotize man, move at high speed, and can become invisible. It's believed that experiments aimed at genetic mutations led to the appearance of this mysterious creature, which has an amalgam of characteristics from very different animals, like hyenas and kangaroos that escaped from the location where the experiment took place. The legend surfaced in 1992 in Moca, Puerto Rico. Many corpses of horses, birds, and rabbits were discovered. The incident was repeated in Peru, El Salvador, and Brazil. The corpses had the same characteristics. In 1995, the events were repeated. Similar attacks have been reported in Russia, where domestic animals have been attacked by a dog-like creature, but much more agile and ferocious. And this time, the creature fed only on the blood of the animals. The flesh on their body is left intact. The Griffin. One of the most famous hybrid mythological creatures is the Griffin, the lion-bodied monster, also called Griffin, or Epimetheus. This legendary creature had the body of a lion and the wings of an eagle. Its name is a derivative of the Greek word gryphos, which means eagle lion. In the ancient world, the lion was considered the king of all beasts on earth, and in combination with the eagle, considered the king of the air, it's no wonder that the Griffin was respected and feared. Griffin was seen all over the world in antiquity, although many of its appearances in northern Europe can be attributed to a similar creature called the Ophiuchus, with which the proud Griffin refused to mate. Basilisk. Basilisk is often like a monster snake, which due to the imagination of many writers, from little snake, turned into a dragon with coconut wings, tiger claws, lizard tail, eagle's beak, and green eyes on the head of a red crown and black hair all over his body. It's quite logical that the image of the basilisk is to be associated with some types of snakes. For example, based on the description, it resembles a cobra. The swollen hood can be easily associated with the body of a frog, and the ability to spit venom can be interpreted as a remote crime. Kraken. Although it was officially discovered and classified quite recently, the giant squid has long been just a legend of sailors who still knew very well that it was hiding in the depths of the seas. But his stories of attacks on ships and people, torn by fierce tentacles, flourished quite often, so for a long time, nobody even tried to find him, being considered as real as the Chinese dragons or the unicorn. But the truth would come to the surface, literally, with the failure on the shore of several specimens in the 19th century. But is the giant cephalopod really a danger? The answer is clearly no. The discovery of the species does not make the seas a more dangerous place for adventurers. And this has been known since ancient times, when scholars such as Aristotle or Pliny the Elder described a special species of giant squid which could reach lengths of 9 meters. However, these testimonies have not been sufficiently explored. The same authors are sometimes influenced by the stories of others to describe mythological animals as real. Everything was to change even more in the year 1878, when a specimen 6 meters long with tentacles exceeding 10 meters was brought to shore by the waves. Speculations immediately began, and the disappearance of the ships were blamed on them, assuming that they could get much bigger. In fact, giant squid could not cause any damage to a vessel, precisely because they usually die when they reach the surface. They are beings who like to live in the depths, being perfectly adapted to this life, having big eyes, and are very sensitive to any light source and with very good resistance to cold. Dragons. Dragons really did exist. In fact, they still exist. You can even visit an entire island full of dragons. Of course, they don't fly and don't spit fire as they do on TV or movies. However, Komodo dragons are no less frightening, although they don't compare to their long-lost older relatives whose venomous bite made you bleed to death. These huge beasts thrive for millions of years in the hot climate of Indonesia. Komodo dragons are only found in Indonesia and are already endangered, which is why experts are calling for much stricter measures to conserve the unique species. Although Komodo dragons can be seen in zoos around the world, in nature they live on 4 islands in Indonesia: Komodo, Rinca, Flores, and Gilimatong, and can be visited on Komodo Island. The entire tourism industry has sprung up in the area for those who want to see real dragons. Before entering Komodo National Park, however, tourists must take precautions. Although dragons spend most of their time lying in the sun to conserve energy, they can be dangerous, especially for local pets. Dire wolves. The dire wolf is an extinct canine. It's one of the most famous prehistoric carnivores in North America, along with its extinct competitor Smilodon. The dire wolf lived in the Americas and Eastern Asia during the late Pleistocene and early Holocene epochs. The species was named in 1858, 4 years after the first specimen had been found. Direwolves are efficient solitary hunters and are extremely intelligent. Left to its own devices, a solitary direwolf may join a pack of common wolves and establish dominance over it thanks to its larger size. The scent of direwolves can agitate dogs. Mythically speaking, like common wolves, direwolves can form a magical bond with a warg. Most scientists agree that the direwolf specialized in hunting large herbivores, many of which, including horses, bison, and camels, became extinct or drastically declined in North America around 13,000 years ago. The disappearance of their prey almost certainly drove the direwolf extinct. That's all for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like it and share it with your friends. Thanks for watching.